at a certain point, I decided to really experiment with the whole medium. I decided to reverse the process of photography, which involves, in the darkroom, it involves printing from a negative, specifically exposing a piece of photo paper to the tonal scale of the negative, and universally developing the image in a bath of developer. I decided to switch this around and universally expose my paper, and that I did by bringing the paper out into the daylight, into the room light or into the sunlight, and then specifically developing. And I did this by applying my developer, first and foremost, by applying my developer to specific areas. And I started out kind of abstract expressionist, using a brush or a sponge and slapping the developer on, painting it on. At one point I started blowing bubbles. This is an image that that I did just by adding my developer to soap bubbles and blowing bubbles and letting them drop down onto the photo paper. Just playing around different ways of applying the developer. And they're just experimental things. I wanted to know what would happen if. Sometimes I would paint the developer onto the paper and then actually add light with a flashlight very close to the paper to increase the exposure. I would take my paper up and add fixer or developer to different sections of the paper at different times. Again, exposing it to light. You know, they're just scraps of paper I was playing with and getting an idea as to what could happen. I tried using an airbrush and actually exposing the paper with a negative, but then airbrushing the developer over the paper. So I got kind of a pointillist effect. There's another one of the ones with the bubbles. At one point I actually started soaking dried plant materials, grasses and leaves, in the developer and then blotting them out, and then I would take this paper that I had exposed to light, put this plant material that had been soaked with Dektol on top of it, and then crank it down in a hydraulic press to about 2,000 pounds per square inch, and what I got looked like little etchings. Again, the whole process of photography reversed, you know, universally exposing and specifically developing. There's another one that was done using leaves. And some of the tints from the leaves actually got onto the paper. And then I carried this to the extreme, and I actually started coating my body with Dektol and rolling around in the paper. And I don't have the whole body prints with me. I do have a few of the facial prints. This is my face with Dektol smeared on it and then rolled onto photographic paper that had been exposed to light. And I did a whole series of these. I do sell some work. You know, you make a living by selling some work, doing shows. There are a few people who collect my work, but of course you're never gonna survive only on that. So I'm a master teaching artist with the Connecticut Commission on the Arts, and I work in schools across the state. And I do workshops based on the camera Obscura and pinhole photography. What I'll do is I'll go into a classroom and I'll completely cover all of the windows with cardboard and put a small hole in it. I'll set up some lenses, and I'll demonstrate the history of photography. I'll demonstrate the optics behind photography. I'll turn the classroom, the kids' classroom, into a camera Obscura, so that they're sitting inside of a camera, and I can show them exactly how a camera works, how photography works, and I'll do a demonstration that includes a little slide lecture about the history of photography. Once I'm through with that, then I have them make cameras out of shoe boxes. They'll do little pinhole cameras. And on the third day of this workshop, we'll go outside and we'll shoot self-portraits using these pinhole cameras. I'll have bricks that they can put on to keep them from blowing in the wind, and they'll load them with black and white photo paper. and they'll shoot their own images, and then we bring it in, and this room that I've set up as a camera obscura, literally the Latin for dark room, now I use it as a dark room, and I'll have safe lights in it. We'll set up chemicals, and the kids can then develop their paper negatives that they shot, and then I have a contact printer. I'll set it up, and they can do contact prints of their images, so they'll get a positive image from it. So then they demystified photography. They've been inside of a camera. They've seen how it works. They've made their own camera. They've loaded their camera with a photosensitive material and taken it outside and shot a picture with it. Then they developed that picture. They printed that picture, and they developed the positive. So they've gone through the whole process, as well as been given a little lecture about the history of photography. And so within this 4-hour period, I've explained to them how photography works. I've kind of demystified the whole photographic process for them. It's a cyanotype over palladium, but something happened with the metallic salts when I coated and exposed it, and it gave me a color that I've never seen before in basically a black and white photograph. It's just an amazing piece. This is also an anamorphic projection. I had a dancer working in the studio, and it's done in a camera obscura. That's me. I printed this image, the picture of myself, on an old book. It's from the 19th century.